Over 90% of our viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you love these stories, please subscribe. Your support is the inspiration that keeps this channel alive.
The smelliest thing in my backyard wasn't the compost pile. It was the argument Denise Holloway started over it. 3 years earlier, after watching bags of leaves and grass clippings get hauled to the landfill every fall, Liam asked why we kept throwing away things that could help the garden grow. It was a good question. So that weekend, the kids and I built 3 large cedar compost bins tucked neatly behind the vegetable garden. We layered leaves, grass clippings, vegetable scraps, wood chips, and coffee grounds from the local café. Emma kept a journal tracking temperatures inside the piles, while Liam proudly turned the compost every Saturday morning with a long-handled fork. They treated it like a science experiment. Every month, the compost became darker, richer, and healthier. Soon our tomatoes doubled in size. The flower beds exploded with color. Even Mrs. Alvarez started asking what fertilizer we were using. "We're growing dirt," Liam liked to say. Denise called it garbage. I was turning one of the compost piles early Saturday morning when she appeared behind the fence. "Ethan?" I looked up. She pointed directly toward the cedar bins. "What exactly is all of that?" "Compost. It looks like piles of yard waste." "It is. It also becomes some of the best soil you'll ever see." She wrinkled her nose. "It doesn't belong in a residential neighborhood. It belongs in a garden." She folded her arms. "The HOA prohibits visible refuse." "It isn't refuse. It's compost." Emma walked over carrying her notebook. "We've already made over 400 pounds of compost." Denise stared at her. "You keep records?" Emma smiled proudly. "We record temperatures every week." Liam joined her holding a small soil sample. "And we test how much better plants grow." Denise frowned. "That's not the issue." Liam looked genuinely confused. "So making healthy soil is against the rules?" She ignored the question. "It creates an unpleasant appearance." Mrs. Alvarez happened to walk through the side gate carrying a basket of cucumbers. "They're the reason my vegetable garden looks this good." Denise glanced at the basket. "You use his compost?" "So do half the gardeners on this street." Mr. Lawson walked over moments later. "Ethan gave me enough compost last spring to save my lawn." Another neighbor smiled. "My roses have never looked healthier." The conversation quickly became less about compost, and more about how many neighbors were using it. Denise looked around at everyone standing beside the garden, then silently took out her phone. She photographed every compost bin from multiple angles before walking away. 3 days later, the violation notice arrived. "Visible organic waste storage unapproved. Refuse accumulation remove within 30 days. I read it twice, then handed it to Sophie. "They find dirt that's still being made." She laughed. "I don't think they understand compost." Emma looked disappointed. "But it's not garbage. It becomes soil." Liam nodded. "And we spent 3 years making it." That evening, I carried the violation notice into my office. I wasn't interested in reading HOA landscaping rules. Instead, I searched city environmental programs, organic recycling, urban soil improvement, community composting. About 45 minutes later, I found something that immediately caught my attention. The city's Environmental Sustainability Office had recently launched a soil recovery initiative looking for residential properties with high-quality compost systems to assist in testing methods for restoring depleted urban soil in parks and public gardens. I clicked the program description. Then the eligibility requirements. Then the application. Sophie walked in carrying 2 mugs of coffee. "You found something?" I slowly turned the monitor toward her. "I think Denise just accidentally volunteered our backyard for the city's soil recovery program." She read the heading aloud. City Soil Recovery Initiative. Then she looked back at me with a grin. "Oh. Son, she thinks she's fighting a compost pile." I couldn't help smiling. She's actually about to argue with the city's environmental scientists. I submitted the application the next morning. Less than a hour later, I received a phone call from the city's Environmental Sustainability Office. "Mr. Cole? This is Ethan. My name is Dr. Rebecca Foster. We reviewed your application, and frankly, we'd like to visit your property as soon as possible." I blinked. "That was quick," she laughed. "Residential compost systems producing consistently high-quality soil are surprisingly rare." 3 days later, a white city pickup truck pulled into my driveway with the words Environmental Sustainability Division printed across both doors. Dr. Rebecca Foster stepped out with 2 soil scientists carrying testing cases and sampling equipment. Almost immediately, Denise appeared from across the street. She walked directly toward the driveway. "What brings the city here?" Dr. Foster smiled politely. "We're evaluating a residential compost operation." Denise frowned. "The compost pile?" "Yes." She looked at me. "You called the city." "I invited the experts." The inspection lasted nearly 3 hours. The scientists measured compost temperatures, collected soil samples, examined moisture levels, recorded decomposition rates. They inspected the cedar compost bins, the drainage system beneath them, and even the layering methods Liam had carefully documented over the years. Emma proudly handed over her compost journal. "We've recorded weekly temperatures for almost 3 years." Dr. Foster slowly flipped through every page. "This is incredible." Emma smiled. "I like charts." Liam rolled over a wheelbarrow filled with finished compost. "We call this Batch 28. One scientist crouched beside it. He picked up a handful, rubbed it between his fingers, then smiled. "This is textbook quality finished compost." Denise crossed her arms. "It's still rotting garbage." Dr. Foster calmly shook her head. "No. This is biologically active organic soil." She picked up another sample. "There's a tremendous difference." Several neighbors had gathered near the sidewalk by then. Mrs. Alvarez smiled. "My vegetable garden doubled its harvest after Ethan shared compost." Mr. Lawson nodded. "My lawn recovered without using chemical fertilizer." Another homeowner raised her hand. "My flower bed survived last summer's drought because this compost holds moisture." The lead soil scientist checked several readings on his tablet before looking up. "Interesting." Everyone looked at him. "The soil across this property contains significantly more organic matter than surrounding residential lots." Liam grinned. "So it's working." "It absolutely is." Dr. Foster gathered everyone near the compost bins. "The city has been looking for residential examples of sustainable soil restoration." She looked around the yard. "I believe we've found one." She walked back to the truck before returning with a polished metal sign displaying the city's seal. The sign read, City of Harrison Certified Soil Recovery. Demonstration Site, Environmental Sustainability Partner. Emma's eyes widened. We get a sign? Dr. Foster smiled. You've earned one. She handed it to me. We encourage certified properties to display these where visitors can easily see them. Denise stared silently at the plaque, then at the compost bins, then back at me. So instead of removing the compost, the city is recognizing it? Dr. Foster nodded. And we'd like to continue studying it. The neighbors quietly applauded. Mrs. Alvarez laughed. I guess that's one way to answer an HOA complaint. I looked toward Denise. I was just thinking, what? This compost pile isn't about to disappear. I smiled. It's about to become part of the city's environmental education program. For the first time since she'd photographed the compost bins, Denise's confidence began to fade. She suddenly realized the city wasn't treating my backyard like a nuisance. They were treating it like a model worth learning from. Word spread through Crestview Manor much faster than Denise expected. By Thursday evening, the clubhouse parking lot was completely full. Homeowners packed every chair inside the meeting room, while several members of the city's Environmental Sustainability Office quietly took seats near the front. A reporter from the local newspaper stood beside the entrance, and a television camera waited near the back wall. Everyone wanted to see how the HOA planned to argue with the city over a compost pile that had just been certified as a soil recovery demonstration site. Denise called the meeting to order. This architectural hearing concerns unauthorized outdoor waste storage on Lot 42. I stood. Certified soil recovery infrastructure. She ignored the correction. The terminology is irrelevant. Dr. Rebecca Foster calmly replied from the front row. I respectfully disagree. Several homeowners smiled. Denise pressed the projector remote. Photographs of my compost bins appeared on the screen. She switched to another slide showing the HOA's proposed solution. The cedar bins had been removed entirely. The vegetable garden was replaced with decorative shrubs. Fresh sod covered the entire backyard. The Architectural Committee recommends complete removal of the compost system to improve neighborhood appearance. Dr. Foster slowly stood. I strongly recommend against every one of those changes. The room became silent. She walked toward the projected image. Removing these compost systems eliminates one of the healthiest soil restoration projects we've documented in residential neighborhoods. She pointed toward the vegetable garden. These gardens now require significantly less irrigation. Next, she indicated the missing compost bins. And eliminating compost production increases the amount of organic waste sent to landfills. Richard adjusted his glasses. So, removing the compost actually creates more waste? Exactly. Dr. Foster nodded. Composting is one of the most effective forms of residential recycling. She changed the slide. The official City Soil Recovery Initiative standards appeared across the projector. Large, bold letters immediately caught everyone's attention. Certified demonstration sites shall maintain active compost systems supporting soil restoration, environmental education, and sustainable waste reduction. She looked directly at the HOA board. The Cole property exceeds every requirement. Melissa leaned forward. So your recommendation is to leave everything exactly as it is? Without hesitation. Frank Ellis quietly lifted his camera again. Denise noticed immediately. Another article? Frank smiled. No. This has become something much larger. What do you mean? It's no longer about landscaping. It's about whether an HOA should interfere with a city environmental program. The room broke into applause. Mrs. Alvarez stood first. My garden has never produced more vegetables. Mr. Lawson followed. My lawn survived last summer because this compost improved the soil. Another homeowner smiled. My water bill dropped because compost keeps moisture in the ground. One after another, neighbors continued speaking. Healthier gardens, less fertilizer, less watering, better vegetables, healthier trees, cleaner neighborhoods. Not one homeowner complained about appearance. Every single person talked about results. Richard finally turned toward Denise. I have a question. She nodded carefully. If the city officially selected this property as a soil recovery demonstration site, what authority does the HOA have to require changes that the Environmental Sustainability Office says would reduce its effectiveness? Denise immediately opened the HOA binder. She searched through landscaping policies, architectural rules, maintenance standards. Nothing addressed certified environmental research properties, because nobody had ever imagined arguing with city scientists over compost. At that moment, the clubhouse doors opened. Everyone turned. A woman wearing a navy blazer embroidered with the City Environmental Sustainability seal entered carrying a thick leather portfolio. Dr. Foster immediately stood. I wasn't expecting Director Martinez. The woman smiled warmly. I thought this discussion deserved clarification. City Environmental Sustainability Director Elena Martinez walked toward the front of the room. Judging by Denise's expression, she suddenly realized the city hadn't come to defend a compost pile. It had come to defend one of its official environmental demonstration sites. City Environmental Sustainability Director Elena Martinez walked confidently to the front of the clubhouse and placed her leather portfolio beside the HOA's architectural binder. The room became completely silent. Even Denise Holloway stopped flipping through her notes. Elena smiled politely before addressing the board. Good evening. Dr. Foster informed me there were concerns regarding one of the city's newest certified soil recovery demonstration sites. She opened the portfolio and removed several official documents stamped with the City of Harrison seal. I thought it would be helpful to explain why this designation exists. Richard nodded. We'd appreciate that. Elena handed me a framed certificate. Across the top, in bold green lettering, it read, City of Harrison, Official Soil Recovery Demonstration, Site Environmental Sustainability Partner. Emma couldn't stop smiling. We're officially part of the city's program. You certainly are, Elena replied. She pressed a remote. A city map appeared on the projector showing parks, community gardens, restored green spaces, and several environmental research locations. One bright green marker rested directly over Crestview Manor. This afternoon, the Cole property was officially added to the city's Soil Recovery Research Network. Melissa leaned forward. So the city actually monitors these sites? We do. Elena nodded. Our researchers compare compost quality, soil biology, water retention, and long-term restoration methods. She looked toward Liam. Your compost records have become extremely valuable. Liam grinned. I knew keeping every temperature chart would matter someday. Emma quietly added, I also saved every garden harvest log. Dr. Foster smiled. We've already reviewed them. She held up Emma's notebook. This is one of the most complete residential compost records our department has ever received. Several homeowners looked impressed. Elena continued. What makes this property unique isn't simply the compost. It's the consistency. She projected several charts comparing neighborhood soil samples. The Cole property consistently ranked at the top. Higher organic matter, better moisture retention, healthier soil biology, reduced erosion, lower dependence on commercial fertilizer. The differences weren't small. They were dramatic. Mrs. Alvarez smiled proudly. I've been using Ethan's compost for 2 years. My tomatoes have never tasted better. Mr. Lawson laughed. My lawn stayed green during the hottest month of summer. Another neighbor raised her hand. My flower beds needed almost half as much watering. Elena nodded. Those are exactly the outcomes we're measuring. She removed one final document from the portfolio. This is the city's official policy concerning certified soil recovery properties. Copies were distributed around the HOA board table. Richard quietly read the first paragraph aloud. The city strongly discourages unnecessary removal or disruption of certified soil recovery systems that contribute to environmental research, waste reduction, and sustainable urban landscaping. Melissa continued reading. Certified demonstration sites provide measurable public benefit through environmental education and restoration practices. The clubhouse became perfectly still. Elena folded her hands. If any organization knowingly orders the removal of certified soil recovery infrastructure, that organization directly interferes with an active municipal environmental program. Nobody said a word. Denise slowly closed her binder. Every argument she had prepared had disappeared. Richard looked toward the other board members. I'd like to make a motion, Linda smiled. Go ahead. I move that every violation issued against Lot 42 be dismissed immediately. He paused. And I further move that any residential compost system officially certified by the City Environmental Sustainability Office be permanently exempt from HOA landscaping restrictions, provided it is properly maintained. Melissa immediately raised her hand. I second. So do I, another board member added. One after another, every remaining board member voted in favor. Linda smiled. The motion passes, unanimously. The room erupted into applause. Neighbors congratulated one another, while several homeowners walked directly toward Dr. Foster, asking how they could start composting properly. The city scientists happily answered questions about compost bins, soil health, and garden restoration. Mrs. Alvarez hugged Emma. I think you inspired half the neighborhood. Emma looked around the crowded clubhouse. I just wanted better tomatoes. Everyone laughed. Before leaving, Elena turned back toward the audience. We'll be hosting our annual Urban Soil Recovery Workshop this fall. She smiled at me. And we'd like to hold it right here at the Cole property. The applause became even louder. Instead of hiding my compost bins behind the garden, the city wanted people from across Harrison to come study them. The very project Denise had called an eyesore had become the city's newest outdoor classroom. The following months changed Crestview Manor in ways nobody had expected. The city's urban soil recovery workshop drew more than 100 visitors to our backyard on a bright Saturday morning. Environmental educators demonstrated proper compost layering. Soil scientists explained how healthy soil stored more water during droughts, and dozens of homeowners from neighboring communities toured the garden, asking questions about composting. Liam proudly demonstrated how to turn a compost pile without disturbing the natural decomposition process. Emma stood beside a large display board showing 3 years of temperature charts, harvest records, and soil improvement data. Adults twice her age gathered around, amazed that a middle school student had maintained one of the most complete residential compost journals the city had ever seen. Dr. Foster smiled as she watched the crowd. I've presented at environmental conferences with less organized data than this. Emma blushed. I just liked keeping records. Within weeks, the city announced a new neighborhood soil recovery partnership, based largely on what they had learned from our property. Instead of sending thousands of pounds of leaves and grass clippings to the landfill every autumn, participating neighborhoods began transforming that organic material into compost for parks, playgrounds, and community gardens. The pilot program started with 5 neighborhoods. By the end of the year, more than 40 had joined. The city estimated it had diverted hundreds of tons of organic waste from local landfills while dramatically improving soil quality in public green spaces. Our backyard had become the model. Crestview Manor changed with it. One by one, homeowners installed tidy cedar compost systems that followed the city's recommended designs. Vegetable gardens expanded. Flower beds flourished. Lawns stayed greener during the summer heat while requiring noticeably less watering. Even the HOA Landscaping Committee quietly rewrote its architectural guidelines. The new policy permanently exempted city-certified compost systems from all previous restrictions, provided they were properly maintained and operated according to environmental sustainability standards. No announcement, no ceremony, just a quiet revision buried inside the updated handbook. Richard laughed when he handed me a copy. Funny how fast rules change when the city starts paying attention. The biggest surprise came that autumn. At the annual Harrison Environmental Awards ceremony, the mayor presented Crestview Manor with the city's Community Sustainability Excellence Award for becoming the first HOA neighborhood to partner with the Soil Recovery Initiative. The ceremony wasn't held at City Hall. It was held in our backyard. Rows of folding chairs filled the lawn, while local television crews filmed city officials standing beside the compost bins Denise had once demanded be removed. Children helped distribute bags of finished compost to community gardeners, and volunteers planted native flowers grown entirely with soil produced on the property. The mayor smiled as she addressed the audience. This demonstrates what happens when ordinary citizens solve problems before government even asks for help. The applause lasted nearly a full minute. After the ceremony, several reporters interviewed Liam and Emma instead of me. What inspired you to start composting? One asked. Liam smiled. We didn't want to waste something useful. Emma nodded. And healthy soil helps everything else grow. Sometimes the simplest answers really are the best ones. As for Denise Holloway, she never filed another complaint about the compost bins. During her evening walks, I occasionally noticed her slowing down near the garden to watch volunteers collecting finished compost for city projects. Once, I even saw her quietly listening while Dr. Foster explained soil biology to a group of local students. She never admitted she had been wrong. She never apologized. But over time, she stopped calling the compost bins garbage. Eventually, she referred to them exactly the way everyone else did. The city's soil recovery site. Sometimes that's the closest thing an HOA Karen ever gives you to an apology. So remember this from Sovereign Verdict. Subscribe for more stories, know your local regulations, and never assume that something looks like a problem simply because you don't understand its purpose. Sometimes the pile everyone wants removed becomes the foundation that helps an entire community grow.